Welcome to Advantage Recovery Coaching's training, Executives in Recovery. This presentation is designed to help you understand alcohol and other drug abuse among executives and other high-profile leaders. I'm Barbara Jordan, and I am an executive recovery coach who helps executives achieve successful recovery from alcohol, other drugs, and behavior addiction. To begin, I'd like to ask a few questions. Would you like to know how executives struggling with addictions are getting through the pandemic? How leaders are coping with business stress while in recovery? If you're interested in the signs of an addictive business executive, strategies of coping with stress while in recovery, and knowing when to ask for help, you're in the right place. I'm going to make sure your time watching this video is spent wisely. If you're an HR professional, I'm going to help you identify executives and other leaders struggling with addiction, other drugs, and behavior addictions. And if you're an executive or other high-profile leader struggling with an addiction, I'm going to help you understand how and why you might be in trouble with alcohol, other drugs, and behavior addiction, determine whether you need to do something about it, and discover how to get help. Please stay to the end of this video because I have some amazing deals to offer you for my products and services. If you stick around, I'll reward you with some outrageous, irresistible offers. How are executives struggling with addiction surviving the pandemic? We can all joke that severe stress in 2020 is enough to drive anyone to drink. For many executives, dealing with the pandemic has been stressful enough, but trying to manage everything while staying in recovery from addiction has been even more difficult. When executives and other impaired professionals struggle with an addiction, it often stems from low self-esteem and a desire to numb the pain of feeling like a fraud. The addiction often develops as a result of looking for immediate but unhealthy ways to relieve persistent feelings of inadequacy and anxiety. But once high-functioning executives with an addiction learn recovery and relapse prevention skills through their coaching, these well-meaning, hard-working leaders become intentional about finding healthier ways to combat those feelings. Leaders take on more and more senior roles, and as their responsibilities increase, their addiction becomes bigger and stronger. Additionally, working from home and being isolated from others during COVID makes recovery harder because they have more time alone with their self-defeating thoughts as they try to juggle all their roles in a new way. Stinking thinking, as it's called among the 12-step self-help community, includes, "You're stupid and you can't do this. You need something to take the anxiety away." Excessive drinking, drug abuse, or addictive behavior is a viable option and outlet. They are alone, these leaders addicted to substances and behaviors, much more with those destructive thoughts than normally. So during the pandemic, they have to figure out how to work through disempowering, self-defeating beliefs in a healthy way. While addiction affects people of all socioeconomic levels having any job title, the pandemic has brought even more stress and constant change for executives, and this stress and change can trigger relapse. The stress we're under is off the charts. Those in senior management positions face additional stressors as they contend with decisions regarding layoffs and furloughs and protecting their business and workforce during economic and health crisis. What's worse, we need to make those far-reaching critical decisions without a playbook for success. Leaders in the business world are often prepared to carry the weight of their company's success or failure on their shoulders. But powerful business executives are vulnerable to the same issues that the rest of us are, but even more so. And when the coping strategies they have built up fail, they may turn to alcohol or other drugs to seek relief from job-related stress, depression, or anxiety. Unfortunately, since alcohol and other drugs have become staples of some business environments, it can be difficult to spot the signs of addiction in an addicted business executive. And by continuing to hide their addiction from others, leaders often pave their own way to becoming high-functioning addicts. It's the same desire to succeed and maintain outward appearances that keep many business leaders from seeking treatment, even though rehabilitation is what they so desperately need. Here's how one of my coaching clients managed her addiction during the health crisis. Working at an insane pace from home as the leader of the company's COVID-19 task force, one of my executive recovery coaching clients had to make difficult personnel decisions and manage the transitions required to have online training, to do teleworking, and have virtual meetings. Rooted in her family history, her addiction became more serious about 5 years ago when she grew unhappy at her job and realized that her marriage was failing. When her boss mandated that she go to an intensive outpatient rehab program, she did and stayed sober for a year. But she started drinking again a year later. She drank privately because everyone knew she had stopped and had trouble at work. After her alcohol-related consequences grew, she decided to go to rehab for a month. But that experience didn't take either. She thought the 28 days would work magically, but she didn't follow up with recovery meetings or recovery coaching afterward. More recently, she chose to go to an inpatient program, then engaged in recovery coaching with me for a year afterwards. She agreed to twice-weekly breathalyzer tests because she didn't want her family to feel they had to supervise her. Today, she's grateful for the experience because, among other things, it has given her renewed freedom, peace, pride in herself, and much more presence with her daughter. Homeschooling her daughter and having many unstructured hours daily would have been much more difficult had she continued drinking. As a result of sober coaching, she makes an intentional effort to stay connected to others and exercise on a regular basis. Even though the pandemic is forcing us to isolate, recovery requires you to reach out. The value of staying connected to others and creating structure is critical for everyone right now, but especially those with addictions. This is essential to avoiding relapse. Recovery coaching has enabled this successful executive to figure out how to better structure her time, that work doesn't consume her days and nights quite so much. A big upside to working from home, she said, is that it lets her set aside more time for her workouts, which are essential to her satisfaction, balance, and health in her recovery. And it's allowed her to join 2 to 3 virtual support meetings a week. It's critical to frequently touch base with individuals in your life who help you stay on track. Schedule calls with them on a regular, routine basis. Physically going to work often provides structure and distraction from the temptation to drink or use during the day. But working from home does not. Executives and other high-profile leaders and impaired professionals in recovery long for routine and whatever helped them function. Many of my clients connect with family members, friends, and people in their support network through video chat apps like Facebook FaceTime, Google Duo, House Party, and others. Coping with business stress, another leader's success. Stress is a key risk factor in developing alcohol, drug, or behavior addiction. It can sabotage even the most earnest efforts at recovery, particularly for business executives who face enormous pressure to keep up with the demands of a challenging job. Along with poor coping skills, stress can increase the risk of addiction when the executive self-medicates the pain and frustration of stress. Add to that the fact that alcohol, other drugs, and addictive behavior increase a person's impulsivity, and you have the recipe for disaster. Routine exposure to chronic stress at work often leads to depression, anxiety, and the temptation to escape by abusing substances. As a leader, you want to build a successful business, but all too often, the pressure that comes with achieving this type of success and the stress and frustration that goes with it leads to alcohol, drug, or other behavior addiction. Here's how another client coped. A longtime CEO of a multinational corporation, he led his company to success. But then a few years ago, employee productivity decreased. Since he recovered from a cocaine addiction, he's been able to admit what caused the decline. It was his addiction. With a ton of money in his pocket, a thriving business under his command, and a life that he thought couldn't be ruined by anything, he was sure of a solid standing in life. He had turned down the drug many times before. Then one day, filled with confidence and certainty, he thought, what the heck? He took his first line, offered by an established CEO of another company who seemed intelligent and experienced. After this first experience, things quickly changed, although he didn't see the changes for a long time. At first, everything felt right. He was happy. Everyone seemed interested in him. He felt like the life of the party. Everyone appeared enthralled by him. It seemed as if they wanted to know everything about him. Everyone loved him, so it seemed. At least that's what he thought. Turns out, just like anyone who's on cocaine, he loved himself so much that he convinced himself that everyone around him wanted to listen to his ongoing chatter. He started waking up in the mornings wondering why he had less and less pep, but he had such positive response from others. Why shouldn't he continue doing what he was doing? He began buying cocaine before work, doing it behind his desk, or in the bathroom, and as a result, brought an energy to the workplace they had never seen before. Then his business began changing, and not for the better. He began hiring employees based on their charisma and charm, anyone who could keep up with him in a conversation. His direct reports became a hyperactive, socially chatty group of employees who probably had cocaine problems themselves. Not only did he begin making bad hires, he began firing employees who were consistently productive. As his cocaine use became cocaine abuse, he began to lose his sense of responsibility and moral compass. He began managing employees based on charisma, confidence, and vigor. Anyone who didn't have these qualities weren't worthy of a job at his company. His drug-impaired mind demanded that people be as vigilant and up as he was. It didn't matter if they could type 100 words per minute or file a dozen spreadsheets for the company's receipts in an hour. If they couldn't convince him through a similar adrenaline-induced conversation that they were worth keeping around, he didn't want them working for him. Of course, he didn't see the connection at the time, but his business was suffering. Stock value decreased. Employee satisfaction diminished. Productivity fell even more. As his use of cocaine spiraled out of control, his family life began to suffer. He reasoned that it was part of his disheartened attitude at his company's falling stock prices. The resulting depression hurt his self-esteem. He felt like he was failing to live up to his potential as a father and his potential as a businessman. Relentlessly, he tried to convince his wife that it was depression and insecurities. He apologized again and again, and his wife believed his pleas. She wanted to continue believing him too, but as his attitude grew more and more salty, his relationships grew more strained, and she became less supportive of him. When she found one of his bags of cocaine and realized his issues were caused by a drug problem, he became furious. He insisted that it wasn't the drugs that caused his anger issues or the business to fail. He rationalized that it was the failing business that caused his emotional issues. It had nothing to do with his occasional use of cocaine. When his wife first threatened to leave, taking their child with her, he was angry. After all, she was overreacting. Still, he loved her, so he was willing to quit for a while to satisfy her and prove her wrong. Besides, since the cocaine was no problem, he'd be able to quit for a while without any issue. Right? Well, the fact that he went to work drug-free, the first time that he went to work drug-free, he was completely knocked down by withdrawal. His headaches were more persistent and painful than ever before. He was nauseous, and he felt he was on a roller coaster, spinning with anxiety, then plunging with deep depression. Since he believed cocaine was not a part of his problems, he didn't recognize that he was in withdrawal. He went home so stressed and confused that he decided to scrape up some remnants of leftover cocaine and gathered enough to feel something. When he snorted that line and his symptoms disappeared, he realized that he'd been going through withdrawal. For the first time, he realized that his wife was right. He finally concluded that he was becoming an addict. He finally saw that he'd been deteriorating, not improving, and with that, realized that he wasn't himself with or without drugs. He was able to assign a CEO, an incredible leader he hopes to promote to head his company in the future. His temporary replacement managed the company while he went to detox, but he managed to keep this secret so that none of his employees knew. Following detox, we worked together intensively, and he was happy to take his seat as CEO back with everything under control. With this abstinence, it became more and more clear how he'd lost control of everything that meant the world to him, his company, and his family during his addiction. Within a month of detox, the company began to thrive again. Stocks went up, employees were happy and productive, and life at home began to return to the peaceful state it had been in before he started the cocaine abuse. He returned to his happy, calm, composed self, and he began honoring his values again as a loving father, committed husband, and compassionate leader. He now considers himself lucky enough to have escaped the powerful grips of addiction. If you know an addicted business executive who is struggling with addiction or who needs help coping with business stress while in recovery, contact Advantage Recovery Coaching today to speak with an experienced addiction recovery coach. Signs of an addicted business executive. An unfortunate irony of alcohol, other drug, and behavior addiction is that it often strikes the most successful people. In the professional world, it's estimated that as much as 10% of the leadership ranks has a dependency issue. In the corporate world, the problem's often ignored or poorly managed. The cost to business ignoring the problem can be millions of dollars due to lost productivity, poor decision making, and reduced organizational effectiveness. Recognizing and dealing with chemical dependency of a leader is extremely difficult. These individuals may have little or no direct supervision. They may normally have flexible schedules and can schedule their own time with no explanation. Also, the lack of accountability at the top can shield fellow employees from knowledge of the leader's addictive behavior. To succeed as a business leader, you must have a special set of skills and traits. Research suggests that the brains of high-powered individuals may be wired in a way that makes them more susceptible to substance abuse and addiction. This is even more reason for business leaders to be aware of the stressful situations that can create a desire to use alcohol or other drugs. For example, when feeling overwhelmed or a loss of control at work, they need to avoid these addiction triggers and work toward controlling cravings. Unfortunately, because most business leaders pride themselves on their self-control and success, and because using alcohol and other drugs is common in some workplaces, it may be difficult for addicted leaders to reach out once they can no longer deny the symptoms of substance abuse. A corporate leader is a powerful individual, having large numbers of people in their direct supervision. They have the opportunity to impact others' professional future in a positive or negative way. In this hierarchy, subordinates who do notice issues won't confront their supervisor out of fear of consequences. These leaders, by their very nature of their position, demand a lot of loyalty, which prevents others from questioning their behavior. Most importantly, professional leaders typically have outstanding personal, social, and management skills. They are problem solvers and risk takers. When those skills are used to mask a deficiency, the addicted executive is very adept at disguising his or her weakness. Unfortunately, their professional skills actually increase the addiction through the same means that got them to an elevated position. The very success of the leader creates a delusion of confidence even though actual performance will decline. All of these factors contribute to a growing dependency so that the professional leader becomes more and more severely addicted. Corporate leadership today is still a male-dominated subculture with traditional male values such as tolerance of excessive alcohol consumption, an emphasis on strength and avoidance of weakness, and the refusal to seek assistance when it's needed. Business leadership is a demanding role and brings high stress to those in the role. Qualities such as strong character, intelligence, good decision-making, endurance, and being highly competitive create a really high-pressure environment that can quickly lead to substance abuse and behavior addiction. For impaired leaders coping with addiction, it's very difficult to maintain their self-image. Admitting that you've lost control over your life and that alcohol or other drug use is out of control is inconsistent with the traditional executive image. This leader will believe that he or she can sole-handedly or single-handedly eliminate an addiction. In reality, addiction is difficult to manage, but the professional has the arrogant self-confidence to believe the situation can be handled alone. The erratic behavior of an addiction or addict rather, will become evident in the impaired professional leader. His or her decision-making will suffer. Judgment will be compromised and behavior will tend to fluctuate. In large corporations, it may take years to recognize the source of dysfunction, as the leader is shielded by a flexible schedule, lack of daily accountability, and distance from intimate contact with the majority of staff. Also, those closest to the addicted executive may well be involved in typical enabling behaviors, like covering up for an absent boss or working extra hours to get the extra work done. Eventually, however, it will become clear where the lack of direction and clarity originates. The professional leader's addiction will be revealed, and people will hopefully discover that this issue was a huge unspoken secret that created a very tense, unproductive environment. Other common signs include the following: acting impulsively and taking unnecessary risks with the business, changes in productivity becoming more pronounced, mood changes impacting the leader's relationship with his team, deterioration of physical health, more arguments and conflict with others at work, calling in sick to work or not showing up, suffering financial or legal problems, being unable to honor commitments at work or at home. Learning to cope with business stress while in treatment is a pivotal part of the recovery process. You will be thrown right back into the proverbial fire if you decide to return to work unchanged. If you fail to learn the skills and tools you need to cope with stress at work, it's likely you will end up relapsing or falling back into old addictive habits. While it may not be possible to eliminate stress altogether for business leaders, there are ways to effectively manage it. The following are some simple strategies for coping with stress while in recovery. Become familiar with the cycle of addiction and how it affects you personally. Be aware of the types of stressful situations that trigger your need for alcohol or other drugs. Learn how to effectively manage your time to avoid the stress that comes with being unable to get it all done. Share your feelings with a friend, family member, sponsor, or counselor rather than keeping your emotions bottled up. Identify your most frequent stressors and have a plan for when they creep up. Choose a relaxing activity like reading, playing music, or deep breathing paired with meditation. Choose that relaxing activity on a regular routine basis. Here are some more strategies for coping with stress while in recovery. Practice meditation or yoga, both of which can help you become more mindful and aware of your thoughts and emotions as they arise. Get regular exercise, which will raise your level of endorphins and improve your mood. Get a good night's sleep, which will improve your mood and ability to manage stress. Practice taking deep, calming breath when stress does happen. Create a list of alternative coping skills you can use instead of alcohol or other drugs when stress does occur. Figure out the best way to address these situations, such as learning to delegate at work, to minimize their impact of your desire to use. Be proactive and come up with ways you can stop the stress before it starts. Knowing when to ask for help. The mindset of a business leader is one of power and control. This is what often makes them so successful, but it's also what makes it difficult for them to ask for help, especially if they believe going to rehab may damage their reputation at work. However, the best business leaders understand the importance of doing what's best for themselves and the company as a whole. including seeking treatment for alcohol, drug, or behavior addiction, and deferring to others when their own judgment is compromised. According to the latest statistics, addiction affects more than 20 million Americans, and with numbers like that, there is no reason to be ashamed if you find yourself unable to kick your alcohol or drug habit. It is at that point, though, time to ask for help. For a long time, there's been a lot of stigma attached to addiction, especially in the case of an addicted business executive for whom going to rehab was once thought of as professional suicide. As we continue to learn more about addiction and the different ways it can be treated, business leaders no longer have to worry about sacrificing their business reputation at work or losing the respect of their colleagues. Instead, they can get help from a recovery center or a recovery coach like myself, who offers programs specifically designed to meet the recovery needs of business executives. They can return to work as healthy and productive members of the company, which is a win for everyone involved. With the help of a recovery coach like myself at Advantage Recovery Coaching, addicted leaders can learn new strategies for coping with stress and recognizing the emotional triggers that can lead to relapse. They can also take advantage of the confidentiality and the discretion that private addiction coaching, like Advantage Recovery Coaching, offers. In executive recovery coaching, we address the impaired professional's traits that are so demanding: perfectionism, control, excessive work, or work addiction. The recovering executive will learn how to identify and resolve dysfunctional habits and these beliefs that have been self-destructive. You will explore issues of professional control and learn the need to release that control as a step to recovery. Also, coaching incorporates a sense of spirituality, serenity, and well-being into the professional's life to promote balance and well-being. Professional addiction is one of the most untreated, treatable problems. Compared to other socioeconomic groups, professional leaders exhibit recovery success rates of 75 to 90%. Once in recovery, executives and other high-profile leaders can return to work with improved job stability and higher earnings. Dedication, hard work, and a new mindset leads to advancement in their careers, more meaningful associated with their job, increased family and personal life, higher levels of happiness and stability, and significant economic gains. For more information about executive recovery coaching with help recovering from substance abuse for an addictive business executives, call Advantage Recovery Coaching today. If you liked this presentation, you may like my leadership book entitled Leadership Success in Spite of Stress. Long hours, tight deadlines, family obligations, no time to exercise, eat, sleep well, or reflect. Does any of this sound familiar? In Leadership Success in Spite of Stress, I offer my 30 years of experience coaching business leaders and professionals struggling with demanding work schedules. It'll help you seek balance for a fulfilling personal life and successful career. This book is designed to help you break through your own glass ceiling and meet your leadership goals. It takes you through a series of solution-oriented questions designed to clearly define what it is you want and how to get it. The questions also help you identify when, where, and with whom you were successful in the past, so you can do more of what worked and less of what doesn't. Leadership development recordings that we offer at Advantage Leadership Coaching are listed in this slide. Whatever you habitually think, even though it may be false, sinks down into your deep inner mind as true. And this creates your actions, experiences, and results. Once your deep inner mind accepts something, it executes it. Even so, if you've conveyed negative beliefs to your subconscious, you can change by relaxing, visualizing positive outcomes, and listening to positive, constructive affirmations and declarations. What's most exciting is you can reprogram your deep inner mind and access 100% of your brain's power to learn anything quickly and easily. These recordings use advanced human performance technologies. We combine the powerful technologies of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and whole brain learning. What makes our recordings unique? Number one, they focus not just on the specific skills referred to in each title, they also target the thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, assumptions, and conclusions critical to effective leadership. And number two, each title includes 2 tracks. You get 2 recordings for the price of 1. Track 1, Bedtime Bliss, relaxes you with ambient music, soothing nature sounds, and vocals. Track 2, Start Your Day in a Positive Way, is designed to be listened to immediately as you awaken to reinforce the concepts learned in Track 1. It's designed to maintain your progress when you listen to the recordings as you drive, exercise, or conduct your everyday activities. After all, you can have all the best leadership tools, all the latest and greatest research at your fingertips. But if you have a weak toolbox, in other words, a self-defeating mindset, that will not bring you success. If you haven't been successful after attending several workshops or paying expensive consultants or coaches, these recordings will help you overcome the negative self-limiting beliefs blocking your progress. Because I believe leadership is developed from the inside out, each of our products and services incorporates several self-assessments while challenging your negative, self-limiting, disempowering thoughts and beliefs. In my coaching and training programs, I provide my clients plenty of opportunities to practice the skills learned. But unlike other self-proclaimed gurus, I also address the inner game of leadership. You may ask, the what game? Yes, I said it, the inner game. We look at the roots of an addiction so that you can experience the fruits of recovery. We look at your invisible inner world so that you can experience outer success. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video presentation, I have some discounts for you. But they are such great deals that I can only honor them for the next 5 days. After that, it's back to the normal investment. I'm going to reward you for staying to the end of this video by discounting our products and services like executive recovery coaching fees to be incredibly affordable so that every one of you can benefit from these powerfully transformational programs and services. Now, usually when I coach executives in their community on site, I have the cost of travel and lodging. If you enroll right now, I am going to give you the entire 3, 6, 9, or 12-month coaching program, not for the normal in-person fees around $8,000 monthly, or even for the distance virtual coaching fees of $7,000, but for only approximately $6,000 per month. I'm going to let you have it for only $6,000 as a thank you for watching this introductory video, so that every single one of you can benefit from the programs and services, so that all of you can get it and succeed in your career with it. All you need to do is contact us using the information on this slide, and in the video description. And we will enroll you immediately. You may even think it's a bit crazy from a business standpoint, but for me, this is about more than just business. It's about making a difference in the world for leaders like yourself by helping them and you succeed in your life and career. When I coach the powerful concepts of this program in person over 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, the regular tuition is around $8,000 monthly. But since the program is 100% virtual, via video chat, email, and phone, I don't have the costs associated with a live seminar. So I can reduce your distance coaching investment significantly to $7,000 monthly. And for the next 5 days, I can even reduce my fees further to approximately $6,000 a month. And I hope you agree that it's more than fair for a full-length transformational program like this to make sure as many as possible have the advantage of going through this powerful training and coaching. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm going to reward you with some outrageous offers, irresistible offers. I'm going to reward you by making your coaching investment incredibly affordable so that every one of you can take it. Be sure to take advantage of this one-time only offer. Enroll right now. All you need to do is contact us using the information right on this slide, and we will enroll you. Leaders in Recovery is Advantage Recovery Coaching's podcast. Have you ever wondered how you can stay in recovery for good? Would you like to know how to overcome the obstacles to successful leadership and recovery and get out of your own way? Well, that's exactly what you'll learn in this podcast. Hear how executive recovery coaching is helping executives and other high-profile leaders succeed and enjoy their recovery. This is cutting-edge recovery from the inside out. One of the most important parts of a leader's recovery is to keep learning. These podcasts are a perfect way to learn for even the busiest lifestyle. You can listen to episodes in the comfort of your own home, during your commute to and from work, on the go, anytime you need a little inspiration. Remember, people in recovery can't do it alone. Life doesn't end after you quit. Recovery is possible. With Leaders in Recovery podcast, you can do it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Feel free to visit us online at advantagerecoverycoaching.com. Thank you and have a great day.